Most veterans walk into a CMP exam hoping the examiner figures it out. But that's a problem because hope is not a claim strategy. A CMP exam is not a therapy appointment. It's not a casual conversation. It is not the place where you just unload everything and hope that the examiner connects all the dots. A CMP exam is an evidence gathering appointment. That's it. The examiner is there to answer specific questions for the VA. They are usually working from a DBQ, which stands for Disability Benefits Questionnaire for those that are new. That DBQ tells the examiner what symptoms, measurements, opinions, or functional impacts that the VA needs in order to make a decision. And this is where a lot of veterans get hurt. They show up unprepared. They sit down, they wait for the examiner to lead the whole thing. They answer only what gets asked. They try to be polite. They try not to complain. They forget half of what they meant to say. Then the decision letter comes back and they say, that examiner didn't write down what I told them. Maybe, maybe not. Or, maybe the veteran never really explained it clearly enough in the language that the VA actually uses. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to discuss the difference between being passive and being prepared. And to be clear, I'm not telling you to argue with the examiner. I'm not telling you to diagnose yourself. I'm not telling you to exaggerate anything. I am not telling you to walk in with some magic phrase that you found on the internet. What I'm telling you is you need to stop riding along on your own claim. At some point, you have to start driving this thing. Now, let's get into this really big here. The first thing you need to understand is that a CMP exam has a purpose. It's not just the VA wants to look at you. The exam is usually tied to a specific question. Is this condition connected to service? Was it caused by or aggravated by another service-connected condition? How severe is the condition right now? Does the medical evidence support the claim? Those are a bunch of different questions. And if you do not know what question the VA is asking, you may spend the whole exam talking about the wrong thing. For example, if the exam is for an increase on your back condition and you spend most of the appointment talking about how your back injury started years ago, you may miss a big issue there. For an increase, the VA is mostly looking at how bad is it now? What's your range of motion? What is the painful motion? How often are the flare-ups? Do you have functional loss? How long can you sit? How long can you stand? Does bending, lifting, twisting, walking, or stairs cause problems? Does the pain travel down one or both of your legs? Whether it affects your work, your daily life. This is the rating conversation. The history matters, but current severity matters a whole lot. Same thing with migraines. If you're going for an increase and you just say, yeah, I get headaches, that does not tell the examiner enough to tell the VA. They need to understand how often they happen, how severe they are, how long they last, whether they are prostrating, which means you got to lay down in a dark room, and whether they affect your ability to work. Like I said, prostrating basically means the migraine knocks you down. And when I say knocks you down, that means you can't just push through it like a mild headache. If your migraines send you to a dark room, make you nauseous, cause light sensitivity, or make you miss work, that needs to be conveyed clearly, not dramatically, clearly. Vague claims get vague results. Remember that. The second thing you need to do is review your own evidence before the exam. I know, nobody wants to do that. Medical records are extremely boring. VA records are even worse. Decision letters read like they were assembled by a committee of robots, and those robots were having a bad day. But if you need to convey the basics of your own file, like when did the condition start? When did it get worse? What diagnosis do you have? What treatment have you received? What meds have you tried? What imaging, testing, specialist visits, what do you have on those? What symptoms keep showing up in your records? You don't need to memorize every page, but you should know the basic timeline, because if the examiner asks, when did this start? And you guess, but your medical records say something different, now the claim can look inconsistent. That doesn't mean every date has to be perfect. Most people don't even remember the exact dates from 10 or 20 years ago. And quite honestly, you probably don't want to pull that up anyway. What you do is you want to convey it so it doesn't sound like you're winging it. And this is even more critical when it comes to secondary conditions. When you connect one secondary condition to another, you need to understand that bridge. Don't just say, I have PTSD and now I have GERD. That may be part of the story. It may be true, but it's not the whole claim. What is the connection? Is it stress? Is it a medication side effect? Is it sleep disruption, weight gain, a combo of all those things? Do your medical records support that? Has a doctor put it in writing? Do the symptoms line up over time? The VA doesn't approve secondary claims just because two conditions can exist at the same time, or do. There has to be a medical relationship. The cleaner you understand the relationship, the better you can explain what is actually being claimed. That does not guarantee approval, but it keeps you from walking into the exam and asking the system to guess. The third thing you need to prepare is functional impact. This is where veterans constantly undercut themselves. It drives me nuts. They talk about the diagnosis, but they don't talk about what the condition actually does to their life. A diagnosis can tell the VA what the condition is. Functional impact tells the VA what the condition does to you. Those are not the same thing. Two veterans can have the same diagnosis and very different levels of impairment. One veteran may have knee pain, but still walk several miles a day, work full shifts, climb stairs, rarely have flare-ups. Another veteran may have knee pain that limits walking, causes instability. They have difficulty climbing stairs. They can't sleep. It changes the way that their gait is and the way they move. It causes them to avoid normal activities. Same body part, different impact. The VA is supposed to rate based on severity and impairment, not just the name of the condition. So before your exam, you need to be able to explain the real life impact. For a back condition, that might sound like I can stand about 10 to 15 minutes before I need to sit down. Also, I avoid bending because it triggers a whole lot of pain. And during my worst flare-ups, I have to lie down and cannot do my normal day-to-day activities. I stop doing yard work because twisting and lifting make it worse. For migraines, it might sound like I get migraines 3 to 4 times a month. When they hit, I have no choice but to lie down in a dark room. They last several hours. I've missed work because of them. I've missed personal time because of them. For mental health, it might sound like I isolate more than I used to. I avoid crowds. My sleep's broken. I have trouble concentrating. I've lost friends. I get irritated faster than I should. I still function, but it takes a lot more effort than people see from the outside. That last part's really important. A lot of veterans are still functioning. They go to work, they pay bills, take care of their families. They show up, but functioning does not mean fine. You need to explain the cost of functioning. What does it take out of you? What do you avoid? What takes longer than it used to? What do you no longer do? What happens on bad days? How often are those bad days? That's the part many exam reports miss because the veteran never says it directly. The fourth thing is this: stop minimizing. This is a hard one because it's baked into a lot of us veterans. We minimize, we compartmentalize, we compare. We say things like, it's not that bad. I can manage. I've learned to deal with it. I don't want to complain. Other people have it worse than me. That may be how you get through life, but it can hurt you in a disability exam. The VA is not asking whether someone else has it worse. The VA is asking what your condition does to you. You don't need to exaggerate. You don't need to act helpless. You don't need to put on a show of any kind, and you shouldn't. You just need to stop editing out the hard parts of life. If your spouse sees symptoms that you ignore, pay attention. If your coworkers have noticed limitations, pay attention. If you're asking for time off from work, pay attention. If you change your routine around that condition, say it. If you've stopped hobbies because of pain, anxiety, breathing issues, migraines, or fatigue, explain exactly what goes on. If you've built your whole life around avoiding triggers, that's functional impact. Avoidance is not the same as recovery. That is especially important for mental health claims. Veterans sometimes say, I don't really have panic attacks anymore. But then you ask why? And the answer is, well, because I avoid crowds. I don't go to restaurants. I don't go shopping. I don't attend many family events. Anywhere that I feel trapped, I don't go. That doesn't mean the condition's gone. It means your life got a lot smaller. That matters a whole lot. A veteran might say, I sleep okay. But what they really mean is, I sleep 5 broken hours, wake up 3 or 4 times, check the house. I feel exhausted all day long. That's not sleeping well. That's surviving one night at a time. Words matter. Not because you need magic words, because vague words hide the truth. The fifth thing is flare-ups. If your condition has good days and bad days, you need to completely explain that. A lot of veterans go to a C&P exam on a decent day. They get measured on that day. They answer questions based on that day. Then the report makes the condition look better than it really is over time. That snapshot may be accurate for the one appointment, but it does not represent your normal pattern, more than likely. The VA needs the movie, not just the screenshot. If your knee bends a certain amount on exam day, but during flare-ups, stairs become a real problem, say it. If your back has one level of movement in the exam room, but after activity you lock up and you can't bend normally, tell them that. If you have a shoulder issue that moves better at 10 in the morning than it does after a full day of use, you have to tell them that. Do not fake limited motion. Do not perform pain. But at the same time, don't push through the pain because you're trying to look tough. Nobody gives a crap if you're tough. The examiner is not giving you tough points. When pain starts, tell them. If repeated movement makes it worse, tell them. If the exam itself triggers pain or anxiety, say so. If flare-ups reduce what you can do, make it very clear. Be honest, be specific, be calm. That is how you protect yourself. Now let's talk a little bit about what not to do. Don't walk into the exam angry and start fighting with your examiner. I know that we all get angry, right? Some of us have been denied multiple times. Some of us have been ignored. Some have had our evidence in our file and the VA still somehow completely missed it. Yeah, I've been there. But the exam room, it's not the place to unload your anger. Be direct, be respectful, be firm, correct all your inaccurate assumptions. Do not turn the exam into courtroom drama, though. If the examiner says something that is not accurate, you can say, that's not quite what I mean. Let me explain it a little bit more deep. Or, my normal day and my flare-up day are extremely different. Or you could say, this is not what happens on my bad days. That's not being difficult. That's being clear. Also, do not bring a mountain of paperwork and expect the examiner to read it all right there. You can bring some, don't bring it all. Some examiners will review the documents. Some don't care. Some may have access to your file. Some may not appear to have reviewed anything in your file. You can't control all that. What you can control is knowing your own claim well enough to explain it clearly. You don't want your entire strategy to be, it's all in my records. Well, it could be, but you're trusting an examiner to go look at it. And if they miss it or the rater misses it, you start over. You need the records and you need the explanation, not one or the other. Here's a simple step for your preparation. Make a one-page exam note for yourself. Not a speech, not a script, just a reminder. Write down, what condition is being examined? When did it start or get worse? What's your current diagnosis? What's your current treatment plan? What are your top symptoms, your flare-ups, work impact, daily life impact, any of the key records that you submitted? If it's a secondary claim, write down the connection bridge. That note helps you stay focused. But when you get into the exam, nerves are going to kick in. The examiner may move fast. They're ready to get you out of there. The questions may come out of order. You may forget something really important. Then you get to the parking lot and you remember what you should have said. That's why you have to prepare. A simple note is not cheating. It's being responsible. You're dealing with a federal benefits system, medical evidence, rating rules, and financial impact. Showing up prepared is not suspicious. It's smart. And after the exam, write down what happened. Take a mental note, take an audio note. Do it while it's fresh. How long did the examiner take? What did they ask? What did they measure? Did they ask about flare-ups? Did they ask about functional impact? Did they seem to have reviewed your records? Or did they mention they were going to review your records? Did they ignore something? Did they rush you out? Write it down. Not because you're trying to start a fight, you're trying to protect yourself and your interests. Awesome. Listen, thanks for watching. I really appreciate all of you. I really hope that you will like, share, and subscribe this and get the word out to more and more veterans. It's my goal with this whole channel. Keep fighting. Take care of one another. See you in the next one.